Go. Hi, everyone. Today I have with me Kim Novak. We met briefly through LinkedIn, and I was exposed to the amazing work she's doing, especially for physicians. Though not being a physician herself, but she's related to the medical field. She's doing some amazing work, which is much needed, not only for physicians but somebody else too. But because as physicians who are exposed to the care industry and or have the responsibility of the health of others, they go through this at a much scaled up version. So let me pass it over to Kim so she can go ahead and tell us all what she's doing.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity. And I'll start by sharing that I'm a pediatric physical therapist by training, and I was working in a local elementary school, and I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. So I had surgery for that November 2020. There was a complication, and three of my parathyroids were inadvertently removed, and the fourth one didn't kick in, which caused more complications. And we were still regulating my calcium, and some things happened that summer 2021, and I ended up in physical therapy myself. And then just as I was recovering from that, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, so I had surgery and radiation for that. Then I had breast cancer on the other side, and I had surgery and radiation for that. So it was 2 years of constant medical issues, and when I thought I'd finally be moving forward, I developed a friendly relationship with my radiologist. He had performed, I refer to it as a couple feats of miraculous technical skill on me, and I wrote a Kevin MD article about him, which I'd be happy to share the link to that. So when I showed up for what I was hoping to be a routine imaging visit, he wasn't there. And when I asked where he was, they said he died a month ago. And I went into shock. I couldn't believe it. And I asked, "Are you joking?" And they said no. And I said, "What happened?" And they said the family hasn't shared that. And I fell apart. In my heart in that moment, I just thought he had died by suicide. And I came to know that was the case. And I couldn't stop crying or shaking. My arms and legs went numb. And basically, I felt a calling to support doctors. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
I know you have some amazing work done. Like you, for the past 3 years, as I understand, you have been continuously opening up your heart, your time, your patience, your energy to connecting with all the physicians who you can help. And I'm sure you have stories about uh, moving stories. I would like to share a couple of ones you think might make a difference to people out there who might be contemplating suicide.
Sure. So, one I'll share. So, what I'll say the trajectory of what had happened is I had a physician coach, Dr. Michael Hirsch, and he connected me on LinkedIn a few years ago. And as I started talking to doctors, I wanted to help my own doctors, but then I was supporting them and helping them make connections. And I'd say, "Oh, you would like to be connected with so and so," and then that turned into my podcast, which turned into my Substack newsletter, which turned into a couple of our books that we might get into. So, one thing that, speaking directly to what you said and why I shared that is so a year ago, January, I reached out to the first 15 doctors who were guests on my YouTube channel, and we wrote this book, White Coats, Courageous Hearts.
Oh, that
And Dr. Jillian Rigger was one of my early guests, and she didn't have the bandwidth at the time to write a chapter, but she shared that having a book like this would have saved her years of struggling and guilt and shame with her own suicidal ideations. So that's one thing. By writing this, I say every time a doctor shares their story, another doctor feels less alone. So when we share these stories, these doctors will see themselves, and our messages are messages of hope that there's always a way forward. And one of the authors, again, specifically speaking to what you just asked, who wrote a chapter in this book, and I'm going to actually interview him again at the end of this week,
oh,
is Dr. Tony Avellino. And he's a pediatric neurosurgeon, And he says it's not the hundreds of kids' lives that you save that keep you up at night. It's the few that you don't by the disease process or an honest mistake. And we're exactly the same age. And I went to Ithaca College and he was in Cornell. So we were in the same town that we found out later. But he was in the process of taking his own life and he was able to reverse it. So he wrote a book, Finding Purpose, A Neurosurgeon's Journey of Hope and Healing. And I had found him. He had written an article related to that on Kevin MD. So I bought the book and read it in one sitting. And then I reached out to him and we had a conversation. And he was one of the first guests on, my YouTube channel. And after that, he asked me if I wanted to collaborate on a Kevin MD article, and he wanted to call it A Patient Reached Out to a Doctor and They Helped Each Other Heal. So that's another one of my articles. And then we did a podcast about it. So we said sometimes beautiful things can rise from the ashes of the saddest of things. And I've also been blessed to meet my doctor's wife, and we've become very close friends.
And such a moving story. Like, as you said, when you're an empath, like how we have like this toxic energy, there is also an empath energy which can drain you, but people don't understand it. Too much of goodness is also sometimes saps you out because you're not able to balance it with reason. And I think as caregivers, any caregiver, let's say if you're taking care of your father, mother, your child, a sick child, as a physician, I remember I lost a 17-year-old to flu at an ICU setting, and I was running the code for 2 hours.
Mhm.
The next 1 week was the worst time of my life. I was just crying, bawling because I could not save him. And and that was just during my training. And fortunately or unfortunately, I withdrew from the clinical path and went towards startups. But
Yeah.
imagine day in and day out, if these physicians are going to go through this whole emotional journey and turmoil, the kind of energy vampires that are going to be created because of that is going to be like something that needs to be addressed. I think maybe a weekly retreat healing for them to help them get over those emotional upheavals. This is something that I think, as a non-physician, but obviously you are a pediatric physiotherapist, you do understand, you work with kids, and working
Mhm.
with kids is the most difficult and the most easiest, I would say. Because you need to understand what they're trying to say, but also be there for them in ways that you don't have to be there for an adult. And make them do stuff. Like, it's like maybe you're training to deal with kids, maybe all the childhood traumas these physicians or caregivers suffer, because of your training, I think you're able to address them better. Because somehow, I think when we revert or when we are scared, we shell ourselves and go into our childhood tendencies and traumas, and those all resurface somehow, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I actually didn't think of relating it and how the work that I've done in that sense had prepared me for that. So that's a kind of an aha moment that you just gave me. So thank
Aw.
you very much for sharing that. Yeah, I appreciate it. And speaking to what you said also, our second book is White Coat's Human Hearts. And one of the physicians here, Dr. Stephen Pierce, writes about losing a sense of awe in life and how he regained that. And even speaking to what you said about the ICU, he was saying it used to be like if he lost someone, whether a parent, a child, he would go cry in the bathroom, like you, like it was a horrible, sad thing. But when you're doing it room after room and day after day, after a while, he did become numb to it all. And he would just be like, well, this is life. And he got to his car one day and he couldn't remember the last time he felt a sense of awe. So he went home and took out a journal and started writing and started reading and went on a deep inner journey and actually traveled the world to try to reclaim a sense of awe. And now he speaks to how important the arts are as well, in reclaiming a sense of awe.
That's awesome. I mean, um, I know these are all moving examples, but I also know you're organizing a retreat in October. I would like to talk about it to, I think, our viewers or anybody who might need it.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing. So I'll be turning 60 this October of 2026, and
60
I just
young. You don't look
yeah.
60. Come on. You can get away with 50. Let's stick with 50.
Yeah, thank you. But I decided that I wanted to celebrate by celebrating and thanking the doctors that are keeping me alive, because now that I don't have working thyroid or parathyroids, I literally need doctors to keep me alive. So I better appreciate them. So through LinkedIn, and when I was meeting different doctors and connecting them, they're different ages from early career to retired, different specialties around the country and beyond, and they would have never had an occasion to get together. So I was like, well, I can do that. So everyone is welcome. Well, we're at least halfway full now. I'm intentionally keeping it at 46 physicians. So we're already at least 23, with a number more who have said they're registering. So if anyone wants to register, I hope that they do soon. So what we're doing is the first night will be like a welcome dinner, and it's by doctors and for doctors. So I have 14 doctors on my team leading the topics and activities. So the first night, Dr. Gretchen Rickards will be assisted by Dr. Wendy Schofer, and we're going to do some improv for doctors. So it's going to be small icebreakers, like in small groups, just to have fun, because, doctors are trained. You can't make mistakes, or someone could die if you make a mistake. But with improv, there are no mistakes, or mistakes are fun. So just for doctors to be able to relax and have fun, and anything goes. And then through the weekends, doctors have selected topics that they know that their peers will like to hear about, but there's not going to be lectures. They'll speak to like 10 minutes on anything from trauma-informed leadership to the inner critic, to setting boundaries. So they'll introduce the topic for about 10 minutes, but then it'll be small group discussion. So we'll break into tables where the doctors can really talk about where it's showing up in their life, how it's impacting their life, things that have worked for them, like just things to support their colleagues, and so they can learn from each other. And we're interspersing those topics with activities that help you get into your body, that doctors have found has helped themselves. Everything from why right. We're going to have a sample, they're going to have an opportunity. Dr. Michael Hirsch is going to speak to how blogging, made a big difference for him. So whether or not you're blogging, just the act of writing can really help. And Dr. Beatrice Olson will lead us in abstract art, because it's abstract, so it doesn't matter. You don't have to have much experience. But I went through a lot of these things during my cancer journey. We had a local cancer support center, and I know how those things help, music and dancing and all of that. So they'll be parts of the retreat. And we're also have time just for the doctors on their own to chat and connect, like extended lunch break time between lunch and dinner, just to enjoy each other's company or have time for those deeper conversations. And Sunday morning, we are going to speak to physician advocacy for a few minutes, and then we're having something based on like open space technology, where the doctors there will decide whatever they want to talk about. And as long as there's one more person that wants to talk about it, they can be a group of two. So we'll have a couple rounds of that, and then we'll wrap up with we'll kind of like, what could we do? What should we do? Action steps, and the doctors can report back to what manifested from their discussions.
This is amazing. The fact that you're able to pull together a group of healers and heal them. It's like a different
Yeah.
take on healing and caregiving and caretaking, supporting, mutually uplifting, and the fact that you're doing it and you've been doing it selflessly, it's very amazing. I know you've been doing for a long time, and I'm hoping maybe you could have retreats like this, where you can raise some funds through it so that you can keep your purpose going. Because I think you've been doing selflessly. I'm hoping you have been supported monetarily by somebody, but I'm hoping at some point you will be able to self fund yourself, grow you know grow into more branches, not just 46 physicians, more physicians, more locations, and that will take a whole family. Well, they say like it takes a whole village to raise a kid, I guess
Mhm.
it takes people like you to keep our physicians safe, so they can keep doing what they're doing. Not only physicians, I think any caregiver. It could be nurses, it could be um, family caregivers, like with patients who like I used to own a home health agency, so Alzheimer patients, taking care of dementia. These are very taxing, tolling situations day in and day out. It saps you out. And I feel these caregivers require more care at the end of the burnout than the situation itself, which is sad.
Yeah, absolutely. And about a year and a half ago, Dr. Amna Shabir had invited me. She connected me with the American Medical Association Virtual Doctors Lounge, and we called that talk "Inside Out: A Patient's Take on Physician Well-Being." You know, kind of speaking to what you're saying that but I feel like we're helping that it's doctors helping me help doctors because I
Mhm.
know so many doctors who were coaches or support or they wrote the chapters in the books, so it's really beautiful. It's like we're, helping and supporting each other. And to your point, I do have to make it sustainable because I have been doing this a few years and I haven't monetized it. And I pay a virtual assistant now to help with the podcast and the social media tiles. So I did just get a sponsor. He sponsored a few episodes of the podcast, and I'm grateful for that. So the things that people could do if they were interested, well, is come to the retreat first of all, because
I
we need.
know.
If I'm going to do any more, we need to fill this one,
Yes.
and also sponsors either for the podcast or the
Or
retreat.
the
I
retreat.
welcome sponsors.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to get maybe in the links in the description, I'll put in the links for the retreat, the sponsorship links probably, or maybe Calendly meeting with you, and then links to the books you have written and co-authored with different physicians. I think not only physicians, I feel any caregiver should be able to benefit from those
Mhm.
experiences because these are universal experiences. They are not individual. And when you care for someone, you're giving. And a giver always participates in a collective experience. And the takers, obviously, it's a one sided. But I think I am hoping we turn into a world with more givers than takers. And that will uphold mankind over time, we get ourselves out of this mess. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's beautifully said, and again, that's why we called it, white coats, human hearts. So
Mhm.
we want other people to know that doctors are human, and we want doctors to have permission to be human themselves because sometimes they feel that they need to be superhuman. But as you said, that we called the subtitle is "True Stories of Healing, Belonging, and the Courage to Stay Human in Medicine." But these stories are human stories, so other people will relate. You don't have to be a doctor to relate to these stories.
Yeah, I know, of course. And this is so wonderful. I am hoping I'll be able to come there, at least maybe visit you sometime. And it's in New York, I understand, the retreat.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
October 9th to 12th, 2026. And I live in Connecticut, and this is over the border just north of New York City. So we even have Dr. Simon Craig is coming all the way from Australia to give the keynote,
Uh-huh.
and we have doctors coming from Seattle and Texas, and a couple are interested from the UK. We'll see, and I think at least one or two are also interested from Canada. So anyone is welcome.
You should call it a global retreat.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you're doing that. It's very much needed. And I am glad that you're addressing issues that are not being addressed. As we get technologically advanced, I feel the human side of sustainment and nurturing that is lacking. And I think as a woman, you are a nurturer. And as a mother, probably you are a nurturer. I think that side of you working with kids, it's all like culminating and uh, into the form of a perfect giver. And I'm hoping you will take some energy from others in this form of support, monetary, financial, time, sponsorships, so that you can nurture yourself first before you go and do the job. I think that's where we all fail as people. We give too much and we don't know when to stop. The givers never know when to stop.
And that's true too, because when you have such a passion, like I'm motivated, it's become my life purpose to help doctors since my doctor died. And so I haven't gotten burnt out myself, even though I've been doing this pretty much 7 days a week from the time I wake up till the time I go to bed, unless I'm doing something else. So I am still motivated. But to your point, it's not sustainable this way. So I do need to figure out how to
Yeah.
make it sustainable. But when you spoke about, kind of being like a caregiver, nurturing people, one vision I had early on is like I had told Dr. Michael Hirsch, who was my physician coach, that I wanted to kind of be like Mr. Rogers for doctors. So like not that I would like that every single doctor would know me, but the ones that would know that I care.
Of course, of course. I would say instead of Mr. Rogers, it'll be Kim for all of us, and Kim will certainly do the job. You have been doing a wonderful, amazing job, and I'm hoping to share this message to whomever I can into my alumni networks. I'm sure everybody we can spread the message and hopefully fill up the slots for the retreats, and hopefully have enough funding and energy to do more retreats in the future. So I'm I'll put in the links. Please share it with me. I'll put it in the description so they are all available. And it was so wonderful speaking to you, Kim. And actually, I was very impressed and inspired by all the work you're doing, because it's okay to do it for a month or two, but to sustain it for years, 3 years, it's not a joke. And I'm in awe of people who are givers, because I think this world runs on their energy.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I do really appreciate it. When people share that, and again, that is what keeps me going, is just the gratitude that I know that doctors really do appreciate it. So, they're there for me, and now I have many doctors, and after having cancer 3 times, and I need ongoing, tests and support. So I just want to be there for the ones that are there for me, and I feel like the future of medicine depends on the well being of doctors, and that we can all do our part. So I'm trying to show that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Kim. And I'm hoping to see you in person sometime soon.
That would be wonderful. I'll look
Oh,
forward to that day. Thank you.
thank you.